Hello, Nation. Today we're going to talk about obesity and a little bit about sex, but wait till the end of the show. Now, we know in 1990, the rate of diabetes was going up. And the states in red are the states that had a percentage of people with diabetes over 6%. Let's fast forward to 2014. Oh my gosh. Every state's above 6% and some states above 10%. And that's $220 billion with a B dollars taking care of the complications of diabetes and of obesity. And if the rates do not change, in the year 2050, 1 out of every 3 Americans are going to have diabetes. Can you imagine that? In fact, I like to think of it as looking at this Charger football stadium. In the year 2050, if they put all the diabetics in one section, that's how many people will have diabetes, mostly type 2. Could you imagine the sales of candy in that section? It's either going to go up or go down. And maybe by the year 2050, the Chargers will win the Super Bowl, but I doubt it. Now, here's a doctor slide. It's an important slide. If you look at the rate, the prevalence of type 2 diabetes and of obesity, they're going up in parallel. And guess what? The gene for type 2 diabetes, not Levi's, but our genetic makeup, is probably related to the gene for obesity. And it's not a coincidence that 90% of people with type 2 diabetes have weight problems. You take all these famous people with type 2 diabetes, they all had weight problems. It's a consistent finding. Tom Hanks, the most recent famous person to come down with type 2 diabetes. Look at Ray Kroc, the founder of diabetes. I mean McDonald's. And this is a great joke because it brings up an old wives' tale. Let's start off with this math test. Bob has 36 candy bars. He eats 29. What does Bob have now? Diabetes. Bob has diabetes. That is definitely not true. You don't eat yourself into getting diabetes. It's part of the genetic makeup. And that's a lot of things that you have to deal with when you have type 2 diabetes. Everyone thinks it's your fault. Now, it's a certain type of obesity. It's called central obesity or intra-abdominal fat. If you're a doctor, you say visceral fat. It's the apple versus the pear shape. It's a very specific type of fat that's associated with insulin resistance, type 2 diabetes, and heart disease. Now, how do we treat obesity if you have type 2 diabetes? Well, the one obvious thing is use medications to treat your diabetes that do not cause weight gain, but actually cause weight loss. This class of drugs, available now 10 years, called GLP-1 receptor agonists, more commonly known as incretin mimetics. We have Bydureon, Victoza, Trulicity. These are medications that lower your blood sugar, but also help you lose weight. Now, Novo Nordisk, the makers of Victoza, said, gee, maybe if we increase the dose we typically give to people with type 2 diabetes and we get a significant amount of weight loss, maybe, just maybe, we can have the indication to treat obesity, not just people with type 2 diabetes, but anybody with weight problems. And so this class of drugs improves glucose, very low risk of hypo, and weight loss. So if you're a type 2 with weight issues, this is one of the drugs you and your doctor should consider. And there's lots of new drugs for obesity. We have Belviq, we have Qsymia, Contrave, and the new one, Saxenda, which is just Victoza at a higher dose. That's basically all it is, and they gave it a new name. Now, we know that, here's the part on sex. I know you've been waiting for it. Can losing weight improve your sex life? Well, guess what? Many studies show that obese people have less sex and sometimes risky sex. Now, if you want to know what that is, got to read the article, put it in Google. But seriously, sexual problems are very common among obese people. So it just makes sense. So we do have therapies. I really like Saxenda because it's a treatment for type 2 diabetes and it's a treatment for obesity. Now, I have one suggestion to Novo Nordisk. They called it Saxenda, but I think based on what I've told you, I think SEXenda would have been a better name. So long, Nation.